Hey, how's it going? It's Jim here. Today I'm down by the river again, looking at another e-bike kit that I put on one of my bikes. I don't have a huge stable of bikes, but I have a few bikes. So let's go take a look at it, tell you about it, then we're gonna take it for a ride. And I also did some testing that I'll talk about, and yeah, give you a feel for it. Just one of the options that are out there. But this is a VoilaMart 1000 watt rear hub motor kit. It's kind of a bare bones kit I got on eBay, just a little under $200. I think it was like $189 or something US dollars. And that includes shipping, and if I recall, there were no taxes, so that was the final price. Knowing good and well this does not come with a battery. This is a bare bones, well, I'll show you what it comes with, but let's go take a look at it. So here's the kit. You can see it's a rear hub motor kit, and you can see the VoilaMart branding there. 1000 watt, according to the manufacturer, geared hub motor. Even though that size is typically more of a direct drive motor, but I guess a 1000 watt one might even be bigger. You can see it comes with this double walled rim, not reinforced eyelets. So with this kit, I've actually put quite a few miles on it. Odometer right now is 269 miles. So I've ridden in some different configurations. Of course, this donor bike is a Electra Townie, 27D front suspension, came with a 7-speed drivetrain, which that works well because the VoilaMart kit comes with a 7-speed freewheel, as I'll show you on the other side. But I did this two ways. The first way is I use this small pannier back here, like so, and that kind of makes it even, that look, you can tell to me it doesn't say, hey, I'm an e-bike, because when this was on here, obviously this was not. The issue I ran into was with this feet forward style and this particular heavy hub motor. So the hub motor with the wheel is almost 20 pounds, 19.8 pounds is what I weighed it at. So when you have that, and then I also had the battery back there, which this is basically I took the plastic off a Rad Power Bike's battery, so it's a 48 volt 14 amp hour battery. Taking the plastic off, it had a little smaller form factor. I'll put the weight on that. I think it's around 7 pounds. So all that combination of nearly 30 pounds of weight in the back really kind of threw off the handling of this bike. So when I went to this method with using this as an Ibera large triangle bag, this method seemed like it worked a lot better for me. And I'll just show you right here. So it's not tidy. I just kind of do this every time. I just pulled out here's a controller. It doesn't quite fit back in that little pocket. And the battery, I wrapped it in some reflective stuff is in here. I also put XT90 connectors on here. So all I do, and there's a bunch of stuff that's not used in here, different types of switches, and I'll show you, it comes with a decent manual. The one thing I've noticed, and kind of part of the reason I did the reflective material on this battery, is this controller gets quite hot. And it looks like the output is, here's the controller, so you can see, looks like it's, I think I have it at the off-road unlimited, so yeah, 1000 watts, so I'm getting 26 amps of output. All I do is, I can make this cleaner, but I tend to use this battery on a few different bikes, so I kind of like having it, even though it's maybe not as clean in there. I like being able to pull that battery out and use it on other bikes. For my particular setup, I did not use the included brake levers, and that's because this bike has the integrated shifters and brake levers, and I didn't feel like changing that. Now, since I'm only using the rear derailleur right now, I could in theory have taken this off, but with the internal routing, I just didn't want to bother with it at this point, since I don't think I'll be leaving this kit on here long term. Alright, you can see from this side, I mean really all the kit's back here, right? So it's 7-speed freewheel. I can't actually, I'll verify the teeth when I pull this off. I think it's a 14 to like 36. I don't think this is an 11 down on the bottom. Anyway, I'll count that later and put that on the screen. but it doesn't seem to be, it doesn't provide a issue with speed or anything like that. Like I said, the tire that I came with was kind of a knobby tire, just a real cheap tire without a whole lot of reinforcements in it. It seemed to work okay. I didn't notice any difference in range. As I'll be talking about later, I did some range tests with different tire configurations with this kit to see if it made much of a difference. So this is the manual that came with the bike. I don't even know exactly why there's a, you know, dude with a machine gun and a tank, but it's pretty awesome, I gotta say. And the one thing that's going to be a little bit hard to, actually you can see right here. So it came with an 8 magnet cadence sensor. And first bike I tried to put this on didn't have a square taper bottom bracket, and that little sensor would have needed some modification. But luckily this one did, so it was easy to slide on there. And it works okay. I mean, it's a limited cadence sensor, as you'll show. It doesn't give you fine control, but it works. Let's go through some of the settings on the display real quick. Just a simple button pad, and actually, if you might actually recognize this display, it's exactly the same as Rad Power Bikes display layouts, except it says Rad Power Bikes right there. Unfortunately, theirs doesn't have the extra functionality that this one does. So I found, a lot of times I find searching online for this display number will get you a decent manual. So for settings. So as with most of these, you hold the up and down arrow. It depends a little bit on which one. And you can go through and set the backlight. That's the units. One is miles per hour. You got the battery voltage. This is sleep time. This is your number of assist levels, and I have it on 5 right now. You can also do it on 9. And I think 3 and 9. Wheel size here. These are 26-inch wheels on this particular bike. This is a kind of a weird setting. You can actually kind of change this, and it sort of changes how fast it responds to the pedaling force. But it doesn't make it really fine. It's just like how dramatically it pushes. So this is the speed limit, so that means it's unlimited. And so you can do a non-start or a pedal start right there. And you can probably see this as so this allows you to do both throttle and pedal sensor. And the sensitivity range on the pedal assist. And then the start strength of 1 to 5. And then you go into the number of magnets. Like I said before, it's 8 magnet sensor. And a few of these other ones are not actually used. I did a lot of messing around with the sensitivity and the acceleration output because it wasn't very linear, and I found that this has a lot of power, and I was really trying to dial in the pedal assist levels, and I got a kind of a good compromise on sensitivity for me, but it really takes some playing with a few of these settings in there to get it dialed in. And being such a basic kit, I don't know how dialed in you can really get it. Before I get out and start riding, I'm just going to go through a few of my testing results, and I'm going to go over here a little closer to the river. You can see this is a little side stream to the American River, kind of in a little bit of a inlet over here. It's a nice area. So I did quite a few range tests on this one because I was riding back and forth to work. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. I did 7 range tests, and I averaged 26.3 miles that I rode. And that's 26.3 miles. And on average, I had about a bar of battery remaining. So this is a 5-bar indicator on this, like a lot of these are. So I was probably in that good range, about 20-25% remaining. So with this 14 ampere, yes, right, 48 volt battery. So it's 670 watt hours. That was giving me range for my commute to work real well. So just a little under 30 miles. I did have one day where there was a bit of 5 miles per hour wind, but most of the time I had some pretty hot tests up to 105 degrees and down to 70 degrees while I was riding this. And the highest motor temperature I saw was actually one of my first tests at 105 degrees. Even when it was really hot outside, 105 outside, the motor was cooler than the outside temperature, which is kind of surprising. It took 565 watt hours on average to recharge from my tests. So that gave me the efficiency, because I do that. That's kind of how I do it, because this is geared toward different batteries, so the efficiency should give you an idea of what kind of battery. I weigh 175 pounds, what kind of battery capacity you might need. So I got 21.5 watt hours per mile. So not as efficient as a lot of the other bikes I've ridden and the mid-drives, but in which those tend to be around 18 to 20, but tends to use a little bit more power on average. Okay, now just acceleration wise, this being 1,000 watts, it has 45 newton meters of torque, does pretty well. It really came in second fastest in my testing to date. The Luna BBS02 was a little faster, I'll show you on the screen. A lot of the other non-kit related bikes that are more metered with throttle. This throttle, as I'll show you, is kind of crazy. So it's got plenty of acceleration, even though that's not blazing. So I got 6.6 seconds 0 to 100 feet. My son, 125 pounds, was 6.4 seconds. All right, so enough yammering about acceleration or range. Let's ride the thing. All right, here we are on the bike. I forgot to mention that it comes with a twist throttle. The idea is it'd be a right-hand twist throttle. I'm gonna turn this off for a second. It's live at all times. I mounted it backwards so that I have to twist it forward. To me, that was a bit of a safety feature, because then if in a kind of an emergency, just grabbing the handlebar situation, that tendency is to go this way, so I mounted it backwards. This is a takeoff from the top with the throttle. And you'll see pop GPS. It's a little, there's some noise to it, and the manufacturer said that's just part of the gears, and that's kind of the way it is. I asked about it. So here you go. It's just going full throttle. So you can get an idea there that this thing boogies along very well. And like I said, I have it set up with 5 levels assist. I'm just going to pop through them right there so you can see. Of course, 0 is no assist and throttle is active. So I'm going to just kind of cycle in and out of pedaling so you can hear the response time. I'm going to slow down a little bit, getting a little lower gear. And I'm going to get up high in assist level so you can really hear that motor engage. It doesn't take a whole lot of pedal force to do it. So you can see there, 1, 2, the cutting off of power, neither is really that fine of control. It takes a little bit of time with each style. Most of my range tests I was riding in assist level 2. One of my issues with this setup is, like right now I'm in assist level 1. Right, I'm actually just engaging the pedal sensor. I'm not pressing at all. So this is where it kind of hovers. I almost feel like this is a little too high for assist level 1. And I didn't see a difference in the other assist levels, the number of assist levels, where the first power setting was. So then in assist level 2, I almost feel like jumps a little too much, because assist level 2 is a little bit, like I wish there was one that ran right, because again, I'm just engaging the cadence sensor right now. and it's a little, we're on a little bit of an incline right now, so it's not showing it, but it tends to run around 22 miles per hour. I'm going to toggle through with the same pedal cadence, just like this, through the different assist levels. So I'm at 18 miles per hour on the display, a little bit under that on my watch. Assist level 3, 4. And so you can see I'm screaming right now. All right. So I haven't totally topped this system out. Like you can see, I was at 28 miles per hour and still climbing. I tend to ride in assist level 2. You know, you could ride in those other levels, of course, but you're really going to use your battery at a higher rate. So you can see it. Levels 1 and 2, I was getting that range I was speaking to, a little under 30 miles with that 670 watt hour battery. Up here in a minute, I am going to do if I find a good peaceful spot to do it, I'm going to do a throttle only top speed. And I'm going to just do it right here. So I'm going to do a throttle and just kind of show you. Just keeps pulling. I don't feel any need to go any faster than that. It shows you that it's plenty fast. Actually, it starts to kind of float a little bit at that speed. I don't tend to ride that way. I like to push slightly, so I don't free coast. I like to push a little bit, add a little bit of force in there, so I'm working, and it says my heart rate's only at 73, so I need to get my game on here. But I'm usually riding this on this display probably 20 to 21 miles per hour, and I'm kind of spinning out. Like if I had a smaller chain ring, I'd go faster. So I'd really like to have 11 tooth, and I'd probably jump a few miles per hour. It does seem like backpedaling disengages the system a little faster. But what I typically do is I just toggle down to 0 pedal assist as I approach a light. Since I don't have the brake cutoffs, it takes such little of a turn to engage. So another thing, of course, it is nice if you go this route versus mounting the battery here on your bottle cage mounts it. You can still put a bottle on there, which I actually like, but it's not that big deal to put an aftermarket bottle holder of some type on the bike. All right, good. Whistle wet. All right, so we went a couple miles. Also pay attention here as we ride. It does give you instantaneous watt indicator, so I'm going to cycle through those gears one more time. Sorry, not gears, pedal assist modes, and you'll see that will bounce around quite a bit for what looks like the current wattage demand. So it kind of gives you an idea of, you know, of course, if you're riding, I'm tending to ride around 200 to 400 watts when I'm commuting. But here, I'll show you how it works. So just a note about pedaling and pedal assist mode 0. You definitely feel the weight of this kit, and I feel some resistance to pedaling. It just feels like you're pedaling a couple gears higher than you are. I really wouldn't want to do it long term, but you know, you can do it. And so I'm just going to cycle through. You'll see immediately that initial bump in wattage as it's overcoming, you know, inertia. But you'll see as I pedal, it'll start to drop. So you can kind of see that's, there we go. Let's show this again. So that's me just free pedaling, so 250 watts or so. Now this is what I usually ride at. So I'm pushing a little harder. So I basically just dropped its usage by 50 watts. I think it's kind of an interesting way to almost gauge your pedal effort. I kind of like it. Kind of lets you know, if you're slacking off, if you want to get a little exercise. So again, this is where I'm typically riding in effort level. You can see it bumps up to 400, 250 to 450, depending on, and it's instantaneous, so that's just the way it goes. But again, like I said, there's a little delay in the throttle. Like you'll see there's a little bit of delay, but being able to just grab that, it really is nice for getting around something. And of course, note I have this on a commuter bike or a city bike, right? I think this would be a great kit for any type of a mountain bike. Well, let me take that back. It would take some getting used to have this on a mountain bike, but it could be a lot of fun. Now, in all, just being clear, my son, who's ridden a lot of e-bikes, just being my son, isn't a fan of this kit. Like, one thing you'll notice, see if I go into assist level 4 here, I'm going to start pedaling, you can hear the force that it comes in with. And it's too much. It's like, it's not... It just feels like an uncontrollably powerful kit, especially if you're somebody that's not really used to an e-bike. You could set up throttle only. I don't really ride that way. I also feel like the full twist throttles take a little getting used to. Like, I tend to not like to have them on the side of the handlebar where I'm doing much else, like where I'm shifting and stuff. I don't really like having, that's just me personally, the throttle over here. I like to have it kind of out of the way. My preference is actually a thumb throttle, but this company does not have, they're just a limited availability. Like, the kits don't have a lot of variability in them. There's some different, I got this was 1,000 watt with the LCD display. There's one without the display. There's some other options. There's also the 1,500 watt. There was a minimum battery capacity they recommended, and I'll make sure and put that on the video what that was. I think it was 48 volts. It has to be 48 volts. 48 volts. I think it was 10 amp hours minimum. All right, back on the bike here. Had a good little talk with the ranger. Let me know if anything but a class 4 e-bike is allowed on the American River Bike Trail and electric scooters. So that was a nice thing to just hear. So look forward to more scooter range tests with the trail as the backdrop. Even though there's no cars at this stop sign, I just toggle down to assist level 0. And this is a good idea that I did that. You see a lot of cars waving bikes across. I tend to like to stop like a car. I don't know, just kind of trying to foster a good relationship with the cars. Maybe it's a karma thing. So like I said, this is that hill I was referring to, right there. And because it's a hub drive, it doesn't really matter what gear you're in because it's not leveraging the system, the gears. I apologize for the blower I'm seeing up there. I love blowers. I'm just going to go. So full throttle. Takes a sec because it doesn't have a huge amount of torque. It takes a second to get going. But you can see we're still really flatlining, or really still increasing in speed along that hill, because you get a dip of the battery, because that's basically measuring real-time battery voltage, which drops under load. But you can see it climb that hill. To me, it climbs any hill perfectly adequately that you'd want to climb on a bike, to be honest. And then if it's a little steeper, adding a little pedal power helps a lot. I hope this kind of ride with this kit kind of gives you an idea for what it feels like. It's, even though it's not a super refined kit, it does a pretty good job. It's just powerful. It's kind of loud, which you can give or take that. There's part of it that's kind of nice because it warns people, but then if you want to be super sly, Yeah, that's hard to avoid because it's pretty noisy. People can definitely hear you when you come up. You'll see them turn. But if you like speed, you got the especially if you have a battery, or you have a battery in mind. There's a lot of good options out there with batteries now that aren't ridiculously expensive. So you could still have this kit under $600 for a reasonable battery with reasonable range. But yeah, generally it looks pretty good on the bike. I like to do a pretty decent job with wire management, even though it's not perfect for my uses right now. It works okay. I'll probably pull this off of this bike, and I'll probably even putting a mid-drive or something on here. It's a pretty nice bike for a e-commuter. It's comfortable, and even with this cheap rack, it does a good enough job. I don't know if I'm ranting about the bike because I should be talking about the kit. But anyway, if you tried this one, or 1,000-watt kit similar, or somewhere in that high wattage kits, feel free to leave a comment what you've experienced. And thanks a lot for watching. See you next time.
Catch the wave, feel the